Under skies swollen with storm-darkened clouds, the cold realm of Naggaroth stretches like a wound across the world's northern fringe. Here, in a land tainted by the lingering breath of chaos, ruthlessness becomes as natural as drawing breath. The unfortunate ones who find themselves captured by the Dark Elves and end up in this cursed place called Naggaroth find it to be a harsh land and a stark contrast to the vibrant cultures and the civilized cities of the world. The practices that take place in the cursed cities of those lands, the worship of Cain, the celebration of Death Night, the excesses and extreme delights, all paint a grim picture of life under the rule of the Dark Elves. The ones who are taken here are often first taken into a black ark, towering fortress-sized vessels employed by the Corsairs to take the prisoners to a realm very far away from home. Plunge into the heart of combat with War Thunder, the premier vehicle combat game, available for free on PC, consoles and mobile. Take charge of an extensive collection of more than 2,500 military vehicles, including tanks, planes, helicopters and ships from 10 major nations. Each vehicle in the game is meticulously crafted, including detailed components such as engines, fuel tanks, weapons and crew, all vulnerable to damage or disablement by enemy attacks. Armor, shells and missiles have their real-world behaviors, enhancing the authenticity and strategic depth of combat. Experience highly detailed vehicle designs, realistic graphics, and genuine sound effects that put you at the helm of the most powerful war machinery, from the 1920s biplanes and armored vehicles to modern-day fighter jets and main battle tanks. War Thunder features 3 unique modes, each increasing in realism. Arcane mode is ideal for fast-paced action with boosted vehicle capabilities and easier physics. Simulator mode offers the highest challenge with full realism. Realistic mode provides a balanced experience, combining excitement with authenticity. Whatever your preference, War Thunder has you covered. Join a global community of more than 70 million players for thrilling PvP battles and unrivaled depth of content. Download War Thunder today for free on PC, PlayStation, Xbox and mobile by using the links in the pinned comment or video description. New players and those who haven't played in 6 months will also receive a massive bonus pack across PC and consoles, including multiple premium vehicles and an exclusive vehicle decorator, available for a limited time. Black arcs are drifting citadels hewn from black stone and twisted metal, infused with the unholy sorcery of the Druki. Created in the aftermath of the Sundering, when parts of the elven homeland were ripped asunder and tainted by dark magic, these colossal structures became grim instruments of warfare. Each black ark serves as a mobile stronghold and staging ground for raids. On its decks, entire armies can be marshaled, fully equipped with cavalry, war machines, monstrous beasts, and legions of skilled, callous warriors. Protective wards and enchantments shield these cities at sea from both blade and storm, enabling the Dark Elves to navigate even the harshest waters of the world's oceans. Once they find a target, be it a coastal settlement or a proud metropolis, the black arcs descend like doom-laden clouds on the horizon. Their approach is often heralded by unnatural gales and shrieking harpies wheeling through the skies. With savage efficiency, the Dark Elves crash upon their chosen prey, overwhelming defenders and seizing prisoners in great numbers. These captives, chained, terrified, and torn from their homes, are herded back aboard the arks. From there, the victims are ferried across the chill seas to the dark realm of Naggaroth, where they face lives of brutal servitude, cruel sport, or agonizing sacrifice. To the vast majority of people who have been taken there, the cold lands of Naggaroth is also their graveyard.
I swung my blade with all the strength my trembling arms could muster, but it made no difference. No matter how fiercely we resisted trying to protect our loved ones, the Dark Elves just fought with a calculated precision that not even the best of us could match, slicing through our lines as if our resistance meant nothing to them. I still hear the screams of my neighbors as those black-armored devils drove them up the gangways and into those towering, cursed black arcs. Couldn't save anyone. Gods, we couldn't even save ourselves. Many perished in the battle, if you could even call it that. But many of us lived. Now I stand here, shackled and bleeding, on the very deck where I watched my townsfolk vanish below. Ahead lies Naggaroth, they say. A land colder than death itself, where a man's spirit is just another trinket to be broken. Perhaps this is my last sunrise. If they'll even let me see the sun again. I fought for my home. But the only reward I've earned is a long, dark road to a fate worse than any grave.
Naggaroth, often referred to as the Land of Chill, is a realm steeped in darkness and danger, where even the very environment reflects the malevolence of its inhabitants, the Dark Elves. It sprawls across a cold, forbidding continent of jagged mountain ranges, frozen tundras, and brooding pine forests. Its coasts are lined with cliffs and dark, windswept seas, while the inlands are a variety of bitterly cold steppes and deeply shadowed valleys. The climate of Naggaroth is unforgiving, frequently beset by blizzards that sweep across the landscape, rendering it nearly uninhabitable. These storms can blind and disorientate even the most seasoned travelers, while dust storms choke the air, obscuring vision and making navigation perilous. The relentless cold seeps into every crevice, making it an unforgiving land where only the most resourceful and resilient can hope to survive. In the southern reaches of Naggaroth, where the climate becomes slightly more bearable, gloomy pine forests emerge. However, even these woods harbor threats. Predatory creatures lurk among the trees, ready to pounce on unwary travelers. The landscape seems imbued with malevolence, as if becoming hostile itself in accordance to its many twisted inhabitants. The land is home to people whose very existence is steeped in an unsettling reverence for suffering and taking sensations to their limits. Among these inhabitants, the Dark Elves stand out as masters of excess. Their society intricately woven with threads of malice that celebrate the infliction of pain in others, and even themselves. In this grim culture, causing anguish is not merely accepted, it is honored and revered. Arrogance is a trait found in all Dark Elves, from the freshest conscript among their Corsair raiders to the most ancient Dreadlord. They are unyielding in their might and resolve, and thus any notion of remorse or contrition lies utterly beyond their understanding. It is no small measure due to this unwavering arrogance that the Dark Elves feel no shame in waylaying ships or razing coastal towns to capture countless individuals from the so-called lesser peoples, be they men, dwarfs, or other unfortunate races. These captives endure unthinkable torments and cruelties, all to sate the Dark Elves' unending appetite for excess, decadence, and pain. In this way, the Dark Elves feed ever more deeply upon the fear and suffering they inflict, their pride and brutality growing with every new victim claimed. The Druki, as they are also called, are a ruthless, warlike people who carved their empire out of this hostile land and adorned it with mighty, black-walled cities like Naggaroth.
I shall pluck out their eyes!
Within these grim fortresses, treachery, excess, and ambition are the norms. Social hierarchies among the Druki are founded on strength, cunning, and mercilessness, making everyday life risky. In the treacherous realm of Naggaroth, a pervasive malice permeates the air, creating a volatile environment where any hint of weakness can spell doom, and only the most cunning and ruthless can hope to survive within the cutthroat courts dominated by the noble families. When they gather, every bite of food or drop of wine can be deadly, and so they play this grim game of cutthroat politics, driven by ingenuity and rivalry. This constant struggle for power breeds an atmosphere thick with paranoia and betrayal, rendering trust a rare and fragile commodity. Amidst this chaos, the Dark Elves have adapted, their hearts hardened by resentment and the brutal realities of their existence. The relentless interplay of power and pain not only shapes their identities, but also forges individuals who pose as much danger to each other as they do to any intruders foolish enough to enter their domain. Spread throughout the lightless corners of Naggaroth, the vast number of underground cells and subterranean vaults remain packed with captives whose voices and wails never truly fall silent. Their desperate cries slip through thick walls and fortress spires. These mournful echoes seem to burrow into the minds of those who are just passing by, leaving them questioning how such suffering can linger beneath them. And what of the dark architects behind these prisons, who long ago learned to channel these tormented laments into a relentless song of their dominion? Even without stepping foot inside those terrible cells, one can almost smell the stale air, feel the chill of iron chains, and sense the weight of countless lives broken by the will of merciless captors. The lightless dungeons profoundly impact the mental state of their captives, creating an environment that is as psychologically tormenting as it is physically oppressive. In complete darkness, time loses its meaning. Individuals in these dungeons are often deprived of any natural stimuli. This creates a perpetual state of fear, where every sound can signal impending suffering or death. Such an environment not only constantly heightens anxiety, but also instills a deep-seated trauma that can haunt individuals for life, even in the very unlikely case they are ever freed from those dark places. Dark Elves are masters of psychological warfare. They exploit the vulnerabilities of their captives, using their fears against them. The captives may be subjugated to mockery or manipulation, designed to break their spirits and reduce them to mere playthings for their captors' amusement. This systematic degradation erodes any sense of self-worth or hope for escape, leaving individuals mentally shattered. Over time, the combination of isolation, fear, and relentless suffering can lead captives to the brink of madness. Many lose touch with reality as their minds attempt to cope with the unbearable conditions. The screams of fellow captives become a haunting and a never-ending sound that is embedded to their existence, reinforcing their own despair. To the Dark Elves, all the suffering they create is a twisted form of artistry. I've spat out hope so many winters ago, and I can scarcely remember its taste. These cursed winds have long since gnawed through my beard and my bones, leaving nothing but an echo. I've grown old beneath these iron grey skies, listening not for rescue, but for the slow grinding song of my own despair. Every year the snows deepen, and I sink another rung lower in my wretched pit. I cannot recall the laughter of kin, or the warmth of a forge's glow. It's all just cold and silent now. Oh, Falea, if you can hear me now, let the ice swallow me whole. Let these frosts be my only company, for I am no longer a dwarf. Just a forgotten whisper of a past that will never be reclaimed. The Druki are ruled by Malekith, alongside his mother Marathi. Under their rule, Dark Elf society thrives on forced labor, with countless captives forced to toil in mines, fields, and cities until their bodies collapse. Their economy is built on raiding and piracy, reflecting their merciless nature as they take what they want and what they need without remorse. But how did the Dark Elves become what they are? What is this resentment they carry? And what events led them to becoming what they are? It all started when Malekith, son of an Aryan, who was himself the first Phoenix King, played a central role in this tragic saga. Initially, he was a contender for the Phoenix King's title, but was ultimately passed over in favor of Bel-Shannar. Feeling wronged and embittered, Malekith sought to claim what was supposed to be his title. His ambition led to a series of betrayals, including the assassination of Bel-Shannar by poisoning, and then killing most of the princes that were sided with him. With his path clear, he needed still to get into the sacred flames of Azurian, just as his father did before him, to seek the approval of the gods. Yet, unlike an Aryan, the sacred flame of Azurian rejected Malekith's corrupted spirit. Instead of bestowing divine favor, the holy fire burned his body terribly. Scarred by its searing heat, Malekith managed to barely survive. Soon after, he was taken away by his followers into Naggaroth, to the north of the island of Ulthuan. As the conflict escalated, Malekith attempted to unbind the Great Vortex, a magical construct meant to contain chaos energies. His plan was to unleash these powers to destroy Ulthuan, as no one else but him would be the ruler of that land. But this effort ultimately failed, due to the timely intervention of the High Elves and others who did not want the storm of magic to destabilize the Great Vortex and allow for a new and potentially apocalyptic chaos incursion into Ulthuan and the rest of the world. This surge of magic proved too great for Malekith's plot to endure. The colossal release of energy tore through Naggaroth, triggering cataclysmic earthquakes and sending a towering tidal wave crashing down upon northern Ulthuan. Entire provinces were submerged, countless elves perished, and distant kingdoms felt the tremors. In the end, Malekith's desperate gambit had failed, but the ruin it left behind would scar the world's history forever. In the wake of the Sundering, the Dark Elves fled the sundered shores of their old homeland to seek refuge in the distant, inhospitable lands of Naggaroth. They arrived to find a place both wild and unforgiving, its cold winds sharp as blades, its mountains impassable, and its forests shrouded in gloom. Yet, the Druchii wasted no time bemoaning their fortunes. Instead, they adapted. With skill, they designed their cities and began raiding nearby settlements, and then expanded to distant lands to bring new prisoners to their domains. In time, they drove their workers into relentless labor, and bent the land itself to their will. They raised forbidding citadels of black stone and fortified bastions that defied the biting cold. These imposing structures rose from the icy tundra and swamps, creating strongholds that would forever mark the new era of their people. Through their cunning and resilience, the Druchii laid down the roots of a new empire, carving their presence into Naggaroth's frozen soil and shaping it into a home that would echo with their bitter laughter for ages to come. Beyond the shadowed towers of the Dark Elf cities lies a continent stretching into cold horizons, its wilderness haunted by ruthless creatures and shaped by unforgiving terrain. The fanged maws of colossal beasts lurk in half-frozen valleys, while orc and goblin tribes clash with twisted beastmen beneath storm-racked skies. Here, the soil of Naggaroth remains harsh, offering only thin pockets of arable ground, and leaving every faction desperate for whatever meager sustenance can be torn from the frozen earth. This scarcity of resources ignites ceaseless conflict, as hungry warbands spill from their lairs to raid and scavenge, forging a land where fear mingles with the bitter chill of winds that never truly rest. Far to the south lies Harganeth, known among the Druchii as the City of Executioners, or the City of Cain. A forsaken domain dedicated to the blood-soaked worship of the bloody-handed god. The sickly glow of torches along its streets, the rusted blades that decorate its shrines, and the hushed whispers that echo through its alleyways serve as a remark that in this city, cruelty and terror have carved themselves deep into stone and soul alike. One of the most notorious and chilling celebrations among the Dark Elves is the infamous Death Night, an annual event that transforms the streets of the cities of Naggaroth into a nightmarish carnival of terror. But what truly happens during this festival? Across the lands, the witch elves celebrate by emerging from their shadowy lairs and unleashing a frenzy of chaotic revelry in honor of their dark god, Cain. But in Haganeth especially, this celebration is taken to a new level. The gates of the city are closed, and every other exit route from the city are also shut. Then, thousands of captives are set loose in the streets, and the celebration begins as the moon rises in the dark sky. The air vibrates with the frenetic beats of drums, horns, and other instruments, creating an atmosphere thick with anticipation and dread. Blood-red incense wafts through twisted alleys, houses, and towers, shrouding the city in a veil of ominous smoke. Amidst this haze, roving bands of witch elves stalk their prey, driven by an insatiable thirst for violence. Led by their formidable hag queens, these deadly warriors break into homes, dragging any who they manage to catch, even unsuspecting dark elves, into the night to offer them as sacrifices upon their bloody altars. It is a night in which all laws and restraints are stopped, and free reins are allowed as long as the night lasts. There are many who lock their doors and reinforce their homes against invaders, but this only further provokes the witch elves with the challenge to break through, finding joy in being able to break the defenses or sneak through and get their prey. It is a cruel game, in a grim night that feels like an eternity. When the first shafts of sunlight start kissing the black walls and high towers of the city, then the celebration stops. Only then are the survivors witness to the debauchery that has taken place. The strong smell and the blood-tainted streets and walls are the evidence of a night of sacrifice and excess that will be repeated only until next year. Rising like a monolith of black stone, Karent Ka, often called the Tower of Despair, stands on the edge of the Sea of Chill, its walls hammered by howling winds, freezing rain, and mountainous waves that batter the coastline without end. This stronghold's quays and battlements, forever slick with ice, resonate with the clank of chains and the moans of captives driven into the darkness. Yet no settlement or city is bigger or as developed as Naggaroth, the City of Cold. Naggaroth serves as the capital of the lands of Naggaroth, and is ruled by Malekith, king of the Dark Elves. Under skies as dark and turbulent as the souls that dwell within, this oldest and most formidable of all Dark Elf strongholds rises from the earth with ramparts that never dip below 100 feet. Its immense walls, cut from black stone, are crowned with 100 soaring spires that pierce the storm-racked heavens. It happens to be one of the most fortified and impregnable cities in the entire Warhammer world. Stepping into Naggaroth, often called the Tower of Cold or the City of Cold, is like entering a realm where buried ambitions breathe through every archway. Many Dark Elf characters feel attracted to the city by its unique delights and experiences, and many make it their home. This has led to many warring factions within the city that push for their own malevolent agendas, each tailoring their activities to their heart's content, always delving into terrible expressions of horror and excess. Within these perilous avenues, life holds little certainty, and even less mercy. No one is safe from those who thirst for blood in the name of Cain, a god who cares nothing for the station or name of his victims. Noble dreadlords can vanish as easily as nameless servants. In this grim theatre of cruelty, the Witch King's indifference to crime acts like a catalyst, ensuring that every alley and courtyard seethes with the threat of treachery. Malekith himself actively sows discord, setting clan against clan, noble houses against noble houses, and even stirring citizens into calculated rebellions, all to cull the weak and temper the strong. Rival priestesses of blood-hungry cults strike at each other's throats, while smouldering ruins and crimson-stained cobblestones bear grim witness to the relentless cycle of brutality. To the Witch King, these ruinous aftershocks matter not, for he deems it both natural and necessary that only the ruthless endure in his city and across the lands of Naggaroth. Vast stretches of Naggaroth lie perilously close to the Chaos Wastes, a region where vast amount of chaos energy bleeds into the mortal world, and some say that even parts of the realm of chaos often materialize there. This haunting proximity bombards the Dark Elves with waves of corrupt energy and frequent invasions by vile creatures, constantly chipping away at their sense of security, despite their massive fortresses. Ancient curses and twisted sorceries linger in the atmosphere. In such a place, fear does not discriminate, and even those accustomed to brutality cannot entirely resist the creeping terror woven into the cold winds of Naggaroth. Yet, the Dark Elves persist, channeling their resentment into cruelty and cunning to not only survive but flourish in these bleak surroundings. They harden themselves against the chill and the horrors lurking beyond their fortress walls, forging alliances by blood and terror that fortify their rule. But where the Dark Elves claim strength from adversity, those bound in chains know only unending torment. For the captives dragged into Naggaroth's icy heart, there is neither shelter nor hope, just an endless landscape of nightmares, where every breath draws them closer to a nameless grave in this unforgiving realm. Again, thanks to War Thunder for sponsoring this video. Don't forget to play it for free on PC, PlayStation, Xbox and mobile today by using the links in the pinned comment or video description. New and returning players that haven't played in 6 months will receive a massive bonus pack on PC and consoles, including multiple premium vehicles and other goodies. This bonus pack is available for a limited time, so make sure to grab it today. We thank you for watching. Let us know what other places or topics you'd like to see covered on the channel.